Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another single song reaction here on my channel. I am so excited because back with me again today, we're going to do some really long recording sessions and record a whole bunch of stuff that I can release over the coming weeks and possibly even months. But I have my cousin Cody Musilek here with me as well.
Hello.
This is the second time you've come and we've recorded a batch of things.
Yep.
So I'm very excited about that. The first time you came, we listened to Talking Heads. I, for the first time in my life, heard Temporary Secretary.
Yeah, that was the one that stuck with you, obviously.
It is the thing that stuck with me. I mean, I have just, dang, that song is...
It's great.
Yeah, it is. It is. And since that, I've actually acquired the LP as well, like the actual vinyl record.
Yeah, that's so cool.
But today we're going to be doing all sorts of different things. One of the main things we're going to be doing is we're going to be listening to Led Zeppelin, and I'm going to be listening to Led Zeppelin for the first time, and Cody is going to be listening to a Blur album for the first time. Not this one, though. That's why the Blur poster's back here. But I'm going to be showing him one of my favorite Blur albums, and all that's in preparation for the new Blur album, which will be coming out, and possibly by the time this video comes out, it may already be out. But the reason I mention all that is because that's all going to be really cool stuff we have here on my channel. So if any of that sounded interesting, check that stuff out. If you're here and on my channel for the very first time, because we're going to be listening to what we're going to be listening to in a second, just know that I have lots of other cool things on my channel, including some Depeche Mode reactions, and more recently this year, a lot of Metallica reactions. I have been going through the entire Metallica catalog for the very first time. So if any of that stuff sounds interesting, check that out on my channel. So for this, just a single song reaction, Cody, this band we're going to be listening to is called Lies.
Okay.
And I believe their first album came out this year. This is brand new for this year. So the way I'm kind of approaching what I'm showing you for just single songs today is stuff that I screwed up and did not react to on the channel.
Oh, okay.
So stuff that I just kind of heard. But also, I do think the two things I have planned to show you, I really think you're going to like both of them.
Okay.
I'm more questioning this one. So this band is called Lies. As far as I know, this is a brother team, which is actually ironic thinking of the next thing we're going to listen to, but later on. And from what I gathered, just like looking very little bit of information up about them when this album first came out, they both are well known for working on their own side projects, whether they're in bands or what. And then this is like their first project they came together. So the album is just called Lies. The band is called Lies. This is a really interesting album because of the production, I think. Okay. It's a lot of like quiet. A lot of things are like played quietly or more intimately rather than like anything attacking you. Okay. And you'll know, I think when we start listening to it, I think hopefully you'll get what I mean by that. But what we're going to be doing is listening to the very first song off of this album here. Let me pull it up so this song is called Blemishes. Okay. This is a 12-track album, and honestly, all of the songs are interesting and unique in their own way. And as of right now, halfway through the year, I do think this album is going to be on my top 12 list. However, it's going to be on the back half, so throughout the rest of the year, it could get kind of shoved off the list. Sure. But there's a few production things that I don't necessarily care for that they did on this album, and I don't know if you would necessarily pick up on them. And the song we're going to be listening to, I think, is one of the best sounding songs. Okay. But a couple of the songs later on in the album do have some compression issues where you can really hear the compression pumping the master. Mm-hmm. And so I don't necessarily think that the album's flawless or anything like that. It's an electronic song. I do think I really enjoy the vocals, but I don't know. I don't need to talk about it too much. I just want you to hear it, and we'll see what you think. So let's just go ahead and get into it and see here.
Did you know this band before this year?
That was another thing I was going to mention. Good job. I had never heard of this band. This is one of those bands that I discovered through a Facebook ad. Oh, okay. Which is how I discover so much of my new music that I discovered throughout the whole year. I basically have my Facebook curated so that the ads that I see are just new music being released. A lot of it's new singles, a lot of it's new albums. And so if I come across an ad on Facebook and it's for some music and I like think that the art or the way they wrote it or whatever looks interesting at all, if within like 20 seconds I can click on something and hear a sample of it, like I get really frustrated if I have to click on it and it takes me somewhere and then I have to click something else and then it takes me somewhere. If I do that like 3 times, forget it. Not worth it. But if I can get to a sample of a song relatively quickly and it doesn't sound terrible and it sounds like it might be a little bit intriguing, I just go to Spotify, find the album or the artist, load it up, save it, and I just will listen to it later on in the year. So like right now, my Spotify has probably like 200 albums or more on it that I need to just go through over time. And so what I do is when I sit down, I pick one of the albums, I listen to it a little bit. If I'm not feeling it, get rid of it. Sure. And I just do that over and over with things. And so throughout the year, I kind of weed it out. There's a few things that have stood out. This is one of the albums that has stood out to me this year doing this. Okay. So this is the song Blemishes off of Lie's album. I want to try to find the cover so you can see it.
Okay.
I love the album cover. I'll put a picture of it in the video here so you guys can see as well. I'm not sure what kind of a bird it is. It's a badass photo, though. Yeah. I really like the high contrast black and white, and then these like blue paint streaks.
Yeah, that's cool.
Are pretty cool. Without even looking at that, I'm like, that kind of looks like an 80s cover of some kind.
Yeah, the blue streaks on there, definitely.
Yeah. So let's just listen to this and see what you think. Okay. All right. I will say at the very beginning of the song, you're going to hear some like vocal sampling. Okay. Some like female vocal sampling. I heard this song the first time, and that has not left my head since I heard this. It is so catchy, and it gets stuck in my head, and I absolutely love it. So, all right, this is Blemishes by the band Lies. And feel free to talk, say whatever you want during the video. Yeah. We'll talk about it afterwards as well. Again, just a two-person team, I believe it is. Is it loud enough for you?
Yep.
Okay. Not too loud?
No, that's fine.
This is our first video we're recording today, so.
I'm a student of grossest anatomy,
acoustic guitars,
of an archaic love, where our two bodies meet.
So smooth, right?
Yeah.
Like nothing is attacking you.
Right.
It's very chill. Even though there's some funky stuff happening.
Right.
Blemishes and all. In my head, and I'm in your mood.
To me, this is very high fidelity music.
Okay.
Like this is, you really could not get this to sound any better than it does. Some of the songs on the album not as good.
Yeah, it's weird that.
But this is like, to me, close, mic'd, intimate sounding things are like it just sounds so good.
Yeah.
And this is put together really well.
Yeah, I love those samples.
Oh,
it's so. I'm glad they use them throughout the song.
Yeah, right? But it's, yeah. Guitar solo. You weren't you weren't expecting that, were you?
No.
Real strings, me thinketh I hear. And you can tell those are real strings because of the way they're being played. Oh, so fantastic.
To do. I'm a student of grossest anatomy of an archaic love where our two bodies meet, blemishes and all. Blemishes and all.
That was great. Yeah.
Wasn't it though?
Yeah, it was. Yes, the vocal samples throughout it are the best part.
And it's so smooth, and like his voice, it's so weird because the first time I heard it, I had to debate with myself, does this sound fantastic? Or is there something in this that's just not right? And I think I've listened to this album, I haven't, just the other day, because I knew I was going to do this song with you.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to finish that album.
Yeah.
So I sat down and I listened to like the last 3 tracks. And let me tell you, the penultimate song on this album, holy crap. It is so freaking cool. It's just an instrumental song, which is crazy because people who watch my channel will know I'm not that into instrumental stuff. But just the way it is put together, there's string. If you're watching this video because you just happen to like my channel or something, you don't know who the band Lies are, or if you're a fan of Cody Musilek over here. So
Yeah.
if you're someone we know personally, or as someone you went to high school with him or something, if you're just watching this, you don't know who this band is, and you liked the way that sounded, the whole album sounds similar to that. It's really weird because when you record something that's like quiet and soft, right?
Yeah.
But then you have everything in the mix being sort of quiet and soft, and you just have it all kind of like at loud volumes, you know, and compressed and stuff. It can sound almost like this, it's working too hard, the song. I don't know if that makes sense, but like this is definitely mixed the way modern music is mixed. And if this were something that was recorded and released in like the 80s or the 90s, I don't think you could have gotten stuff to sound like this before that.
Okay.
But if it was, 20, 30 years older than it is, it would be very much more dynamic mix, right? There would be more louder louds and softer quiets.
Okay, yeah.
Quieter, softer parts.
Sure.
But this is a little bit more compressed. And so that's kind of where I have my problem with this album in terms of like fighting with myself over whether I think it sounds phenomenal or if there's just something weird with it. Now, I also will say, in having listened to it a whole bunch, I do think that they scooped all the mids out of this album. So there's like, the bass and the treble are all the way up, and the mids are like way scooped down.
Okay.
There's like almost no mids in this song at all. Some of the instruments have mids in them, but a lot of it doesn't. I think that's sort of a mastering thing. But anyway, sorry, I'm just talking about my thoughts overall. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
I didn't get any of that from there. But
Yeah, no, I know. Sorry.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah. So how else did you feel about it?
I guess the only thing the guy's voice is very nice.
Yeah.
It's not really, I don't listen to guys that sing like that.
Yeah.
Very often.
Yeah.
But like everything around that was so good that I really liked the song.
And the thing is, like, I don't really, only within the last few years would I say that I've really gotten into music where like a male would be singing sort of like clean like that.
Yeah.
And that's when I listen to, like, I've been slowly trying to get into more prog rock, prog metal stuff. And you really have people do these like sort of lush sounding male vocals in a lot of it.
Sure.
And that's what this is. But the thing is, like, when I think of, like, to me, I think that, like, for example, Tears for Fears, they could make that song. Yeah. I think, because they have all little weird things that kind of like flit across their songs, and they do weird samples. And in the 80s, dudes did sing kind of more like that. Like,
yeah.
But the thing is, and this is so weird, I was going to bring this up with you later, but we can talk about it now since you brought up the vocals.
Okay.
I found a really great reaction channel online, and I'm not going to be able to remember what it's called. I'll figure out what it is, and I'll put a picture here in the video, but basically it's a father and a son showing each other music.
Okay.
Which to me would be like a dream come true. It'd be amazing. But my dad hasn't listened to music since 1961.
Oh, I wish we could get your dad on a video.
I know. I wish we could get your dad on a video.
Oh,
He'd tear my set down in rage if I showed him anything after 1975. But they're just showing each other different things.
Yeah.
And the guy, the father, he really grew up loving synthwave and synth pop music and stuff from the 80s and the 90s and all over.
That's weird to me.
Yeah, I know, right? That a father,
Because our dads are so much older than that.
100%. I know. I thought the exact same thing.
But that's cool though.
Yeah. So he's been showing him all sorts of different things, but the one thing that the kid, it's awesome because the son, he has no sort of reference for things. You know, I think he's still either in high school or just graduated, so he's like a young man.
Sure.
He keeps bringing up the fact that he thinks that all these bands that were making like sort of synth pop music or new wave music from the 80s, they all sound British to him, even though they're not. And I have always
brought
thought
that up.
the exact same thing because like I've heard all these bands and I'm like, this has got to be, there's just like,
Yeah, you thought the Talking Heads were British.
yes,
You told me you thought Devo was British.
yes. and a lot of synthwave, because I don't know if it's because, I think it's just the way that they sang. The way I sort of describe it is almost like it almost sounds like they don't care if they're singing the correct thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's almost like a sort of a punky thing,
Sure.
which was a huge influence on new wave music in the 80s. And so like, but it's just that sort of like, I don't care what I'm singing attitude and the like very stylistic approach to singing, like crazy, like insane sounding vocals.
Weird voices, yeah.
Yeah. And to me, like I've told you before, when I think of the 80s music, like to me, quintessential, the 80s music is like I Ran by Flock of Seagulls.
Yeah.
That's like, it's got the 80s guitar sounding guitars. It's synth wavy. It's new. It's like, it's new wavy. It's
They've got like
crazy
the look.
Crazy. The keyboards are amazing.
Yeah.
You know, everything that I think of like an 80s band is encompassed in that one song in that band. And they're English, right? They're from Britain.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And like Duran Duran, they're from Britain.
They're British, yeah.
And so they're sort of like those are two bands that were like quintessential, but then also like
the Smiths and like there was a lot of British bands mixed in with new wave.
Yeah.
And I guess you probably can't tell what's one and what's the other.
Absolutely
They're all
not.
kind of doing
Absolutely not.
similar kind of weird
And so the
music.
only reason I bring that up, because that has nothing to do with lies, but the only reason I bring that up is because, yeah, sorry, I shouldn't have wasted all our time in this video with that, but whatever, who cares? We're just having fun today.
Yeah.
You got to watch all of our videos together today to get the whole story. It's going to be like watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy, right? You don't get the whole story from just one of them. You got to watch it all together.
Right.
So over the next few months, make sure you click on the thumbnails that have him and I in it.
There you go.
But
It'll be weird stuff.
yeah, there's gonna be some funny stuff. But in terms of this, he sings the opposite of what we were just talking about.
Right, exactly.
It's not very stylistic. It's
Yeah.
very straightforward. It's very smooth and relaxing almost. And that's how he sings the whole album. And I will say there are songs that do have like distortion and things on them, not necessarily distorted guitars, but there's a little bit of that. But they mess around with all sorts of different things. But the whole album does still have and keep that like chill, but I think a little bit overcompressed vibe.
Okay.
So if you like the way that sounded, I would recommend checking that out.
I definitely like this song. I feel like maybe I wouldn't like the whole album.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. And that's tough. Like I've said before, for me, the first thing that can make or break an album mostly is vocals.
Yeah.
So if I don't like the way a band,
I know. And that's such an intangible, like,
it is.
It's not like I could say his vocals were bad because they're
no,
not.
because
They're
they
so
weren't.
good.
Right. It's just a taste thing. Totally.
Right.
At that point, we're talking about, because I do think everything was recorded really well. And I do think in this song in particular was mixed very well. So you can't sort of like objectively say anything was not done really well.
Yeah. It was
So
great.
it's just a subjective opinion
Yeah.
at that point. But that's kind of why I'm scared about some of the other things that I want to do. Like, am I going to not be able to enjoy Led Zeppelin because of the way the dude sings? And I've always thought that about Rush too, right?
Yeah.
That dude sounds
That's
like
a pretty good example of that.
Yeah,
I think a lot
right?
of people can't listen to Rush because of that.
Yeah. And there's just so many bands like that. But sometimes you just got to get over it. And sometimes if you just sort of like force yourself to listen to it, after a while you become accustomed to it. You know, and there are certain bands that I really like that I think if you heard them, you'd be like, I can't believe you like that because of the way the singer sounds.
It's impossible
You
to
know.
predict if you're going to like something.
I know.
Impossible.
I know. It's great. But that's why it's so great to have a reaction
Yeah,
channel too.
it's great.
And that's why I love having someone on that can be like, here, just listen to this thing and see what you think.
Well, yeah, you're not just going to sit here and listen to Led Zeppelin yourself.
No.
You need someone that knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
Not that I'm an expert.
Okay, so I think we've done pretty good with this. We did way more than we need to and talked about a bunch of stuff that had nothing to do with it, but that's okay. It's still fun.
Yeah.
Like I said, my main reason for showing you this was just because I really wish I would have reacted to this album on my channel. It would have been a fun time doing that. But instead, here's this, put out in the world. I do not think that they're a big band. Let me just look and see how many listeners or followers they have on Spotify real quick. Because I do not think that they're like some...
I would assume most of the stuff you see on Facebook ads probably are not very big.
Oh, no, that's not true.
Really?
Yeah, I found out Portugal the Man had an album come out because of that.
Okay. For what it's worth, I've never seen an ad for music on Facebook. So you've definitely curated yours.
I did. Because, and the funny thing is too, like if I click on a couple, like if I, like for the last couple of weeks, Facebook has been wanting me to listen to like post-hardcore music, which I don't know, you probably don't know what that is. I don't like post-hardcore music. I don't like it. And so now like everything I get is like, they're like a sensation in post-hardcore. I'm like, I don't want this. But because I clicked on like one or two things once.
Yeah. Sometimes you can click on it and be like, why are you showing me this ad?
Okay.
And it'll say, oh, because you're interested in post-hardcore music.
Yeah.
And then you can say, no,
you can say no. Yeah.
But
I don't ever get that deep into it because I always continue to find
it
new stuff.
eventually corrects.
So this band that we just listened to, Lies, they have less than 7,000 listens monthly on Spotify.
It's kind of sad.
It's very sad.
That's like very good.
Basically
good
nothing.
music.
Yeah. And so if anyone from this band ever sees this video, you guys did a great job.
We liked it.
I think your album's really great. So congratulations on that. All right. We can end the video here, and we'll be back with some more stuff and all sorts of good things on my channel, so make sure you go check out. And also think about, I don't generally ask this, but I'm going to try to sort of focus my energy on growing the channel a little bit more.
Smash that like button.
Think about
Be sure to
subscribing,
subscribe.
liking the video, and all that stuff. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.